All right, last time the video ran, and what we got to build was a critter, something we could interact with, something we could play with, change the values of, change the name, something a little more interesting than just a rectangle or a square. Today, we're going to have, instead of us just interacting with our one thing that we're making, we're going to have our two objects we're going to create interact with each other. So, what we're going to create is something called battle pigs. So, what we got here is what I like to call a battle pig. Imagine it as a little pig with a sword, or in this case, a spatula of some sort. I have a couple of objects here. One is battle pig, one is spatula, and then I have the main. Now, let me cancel that. Yep. So, whenever you create your battle pig project, what we're going to do is dig down to the default package, right-click, new Java class, and you will create one called battle pig and one called spatula. They'll be pretty much blank completely until you get in here and start filling it out. So let's take a look at the battle pig. The battle pig is the little pig it's going to battle. I'm going to make two of them, and I'm going to have them, exchange blows, so to speak, at each other. And then we'll get a chance to see just, you know, how they interact with each other. So first and foremost here, we've got a string name. Our battle pig needs health because he's going to be hit, so he's going to take damage. And we're going to give him a spatula, which will be his weapon of choice. What battle pig would not be complete without his trusty spatula? Now our constructor, public battle pig, same name. Common mistake would be to put public void. A constructor doesn't have a identifier like void or int or anything like that. It's just public battle pig because battle pig's the name of the project. I'm going to give it string name and a spatula. And then inside the constructor, we will assign the name to this. We will give it a flat 100 health, which I could assign that to if I wanted to add that. If you wanted to make it a little more personal, you could. And then I will assign the spatula that I give it to this pig. So once he's made, all these things will be associated with this pig that we're building. If I name it Wilbur or, whatever, that name will be plugged into here. Now, we're going to have a couple of little abilities here. The first one is headbutt. And this is what our little pig's going to do. He's going to run in and headbutt the other pig. So, here we go. We have a variable called int damage, and this is a public static int because it's going to return the amount of damage he takes, or gives rather. So we can give that value to the other pig. The other pig has to know how much damage is being done to him. Imagine in a game where you grab your sword and you hit the slime. The slime's a completely separate object. Whenever your attack is initiated, the sword itself has attributes. You have attributes. How much damage can you do? The slime is completely separate from you, but it has to know, you know, what those values are, how much damage you're taking. So in order to do that, uh, this is where this comes into play. Uh, we're going to have this return the value of how much damage you're going to do. And then we'll give it to the other pig using this take damage method, so he knows how much damage he took. Same is true with the slime example. I hit it with a sword. I have to give it the value of the damage it took so I can subtract it from the health, and it knows whether or not it's inevitably going to die or not. So the first line is int damage equals s dot get damage. Now, S is the spatula. So basically, I'm getting the damage from the spatula. The spatula is enhancing my headbutt. Somehow, that's just how it works. Go with it. Of course, you could change this and just call it spatula slap if you like, or even add more if you like. I'm going to print, you know, this pig's name uses headbutt. It does whatever that damage is. So basically, whatever the damage of the spatula, that's how much damage it does. And then it returns the amount of damage back to where it was called from. And then I can take that number and give it to the pig, where he, or it, or she can take damage. So this take hit is them taking damage. So I print, name of this pig in this case, takes whatever damage that I pass to it, and then I subtract it from the health. Just like that. Now, of course, if I wanted to be a little more thorough, I could probably put in, so and so has died if it's 0 or less. Close out the whole program or something like that. This would probably be a great deal bigger. For example, of course, in modern games, you have critical chance and various other things, speed and type of weapon. There's 100 different things that they calculate. You wouldn't think, you press a button on the keyboard or on your gamepad, the dude swings and it's doing all these complicated mathematical acrobatics to figure out what that little number that popped up is going to be. How much damage do you do? How much damage does that weapon do versus the enemy you're fighting? If that's a particular type of weapon, does it do more damage? Is it like 1.5 more? Did you critical hit? Did you critical miss? Did they dodge? You know, if they took damage, how much did they take? Does that change the AI? Because in some games, as soon as an enemy is hurt a certain extent, it changes, the abilities or things that it does. It goes and hides and heals or something like that. So there's all kinds of stuff we can add in here. Again, I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible. So I'm just going to subtract the damage. Now stats is just like any other thing that we've had in the other programs, where I just display the information. The name, the health. And that is the battle pig. I'll scroll up one more time. The attributes, the constructor, the headbutt, the take hit, and stats. And the end of the class. Now, the ever important spatula is pretty simple. Uh, it just has a name and a damage, which we assign in the constructor. I just give the name damage, it pops those in there. And we have one method called getDamage, which just returns the damage, so I know how much damage it does. If you want it to be more complicated, some games have durability, where the more you use it, less uh, the less sharp it is, or more likely it is to break and that sort of thing. So you can't use it anymore. Uh, some games have things like that. It just depends. So I've got my spatula. I got my battle pig. Now all that's left is simply to run it. Now for this, I'm simply going to create a couple of spatulas. Because when I create a pig, I have to give it a spatula, so I need to create the spatula first. My first spatula is called Old Reliable, 40 damage. This spatula is called New Reliable, 60 damage. It's newer. I mean, shinier, probably sharper. Has extra little buttons and features, and probably Bluetooth too. I have two pigs. One's Wilbur, one's Babe. And they're going to battle it out. Well, they're going to hit each other once or twice. That's effectively what you're going to see. Now, we've got Wilbur, and we give him New Reliable. We have Babe, we're going to give him old reliable. Although technically I would say it probably should be the other way around, but yeah, it doesn't really matter so much with what we're doing. So let's take a little look. Now we're going to, after we create our spatula and pigs, we are going to display their stats. Now, when one of them hits the other, I call take hit. So Wilbur takes a hit from Babe. And this headbutt, if you remember, we go back to Battle Pig. It's going to return an integer. It's going to get the spatula, figure out how much damage this is going to do. It's going to return that number back. Take hit, I give it basically the headbutt value, and then it's going to subtract it from that pig. So effectively what's going on here is Wilbur takes a hit, and then from Babe's headbutt, it's going to display and say as much. I'll display Wilbur's stats. Then Babe is going to take a hit from Wilbur. And of course I can, display Babe's stats. There we go. So let's take a look at this. Boom. All right, our first pig, w.stats, would be Wilbur, health at 100. The second one, right here, Babe, health at 100. Now in this first instance, notice I've got 3 lines of code, or 3 lines of output here. The first one is, Babe uses headbutt, it does 40 damage. Wilbur takes 40 damage. Those 3 lines are coming from that one line we have here. So this is going to run take hit, but it's got to run headbutt first. So it goes to headbutt. And it says, okay, here's the damage. In this case, Babe uses the headbutt, and it does 40 damage. It returns that damage. Then we go to Wilbur, and he's going to take the hit with 40 damage. So it says, Wilbur takes 40 damage, and then it subtracts his health, which you see in the next set here. We've got Wilbur, 60 health. Wilbur used the headbutt on Babe. Babe took 60 damage. And then you saw that Babe, boom, is down to 40 now. If they attacked again, well, it would be negative. I haven't really set anything up to deal with that, although I really should. I should have it here, if health is less than or equal to 0, that pig just died. There could be a lot more stuff we could add to each of these, honestly. More abilities, more things. And of course, I'm doing all this in the main, where I just am trading blows back and forth. Now, if you remember the critter we made, we had a loop with a menu where we could feed, play, talk, quit, interact with it. Well, we could apply that to here if we wanted to with the battle pig and have a little menu where we are controlling one of the pigs and the other pig is computer controlled. So let's say you had 3 or 4 moves you can pick from. 1, 2, 3. Well, how would you have the computer's battle pig choose? Well, random number generator, 1, 2, 3, or 0, 1, 2. It would randomly pick an attack or dance or whatever it does. Sleep. And of course you would type in your number and it would run that command and do that to the other pig. And you would basically keep going until one of you have died, which is basically that health. If I had, let's say, a get health in this, for example, a get name, even a get spatula if I needed it, but I could get the health, check it, make sure in the main if it is where it's supposed to be. We could also make a method maybe called isDead that checks if the health is, 0 or below. And if that returns true, we can have this loop in battle stop. If w dot is dead, or you know, B dot is dead. One of them died, of course. Then we just have to figure out who and display the victor's, message or whatever we wanted to do. So there's a lot of stuff we could add to this if we wanted to. Uh, Hopefully you enjoyed that. And I would again encourage you to make a couple of changes. Uh, Maybe he's got a shield that blocks the spatula a certain percentage of the time. There's a lot of little things you could add and play with if you wanted to. And I would encourage you to give it a try. If you have questions or anything, feel free to ask me and I'll do what I can to help you. And that's all.